Dear learners, in previous video on the theory of goodness, we had looked into various concepts involved in the theory of goodness. Today, you will be learning about a very important concept in the theory of goodness, that is hedonism. Who does not want to feel happy or enjoy the little pleasures of life? A beautiful painting, a good book, a delicious meal. We all enjoy and feel happy when we get them. Human by nature seeks happiness in various things he or she does. The philosophy of hedonism revolves around these concepts of pleasure and happiness. Let us look at them in detail. Let us first look at the meaning of hedonism. Hedonism is taken from a Greek word hedon, which means for pleasure. Hedonism as a normative ethical philosophy means that pleasure and happiness constitute ultimate good. In other words, it can be said that something is normally good or right if it promotes or tends to promote maximum happiness to the maximum number of people in the long run. Which means that anything which is to be done or which will be done and it creates happiness among maximum number of people, then that is the basic concept of hedonism. That is what hedonism actually means. According to the philosophy of hedonism, only that pleasure is intrinsically good that is worth having for its own sake. Not like other pleasures which are instrumental pleasures which help in promoting other goods or which help in promoting other pleasures, but any pleasure which is good or worth having for its own sake, that is intrinsically good. On the basis of this theory, the more pleasure and happiness are in the world, the better it is. And life containing the most intrinsic good is the one that contains maximum pleasure and least displeasure. So this is the basic philosophy of hedonism. Now, according to the hedonists, pleasure and happiness are intrinsically good. There are many things that hedonists would consider good, but only pleasure and happiness are considered intrinsically good, which means which has a worth of its own or which has a good of its own. For example, works of art are good in that they provide the possibility of pleasant aesthetic experiences. They are sometimes said to have a special kind of inherent value, since the contemplation of them itself is a pleasure or it is pleasant to the human mind. Bricks and mortar, on the other side, by contrast, do not have any inherent value, because the very contemplation of them is not itself pleasant. When you think of a painting, a beautiful painting or a scenic view, you feel pleasant about it. Whereas when you look at brick and mortar, do you feel pleasant about it? No. Such instruments or such goods are called instrumental goods because they have instrumental value, in that they have a utility for human purpose, such as building houses, which in turn will lead to happiness. So there is this basic difference between intrinsic good or intrinsic worth and instrumental worth. Anything that is usable for furtherance of happiness is instrumentally good. Among the things that are instrumentally good in a hedonic sense are moral qualities or virtues like honesty, benevolence, truth, non-stealing, industriousness, and so on. In general, moral qualities are those that tend to make one and all better human beings. Acquisition of knowledge, for example, in general, is good, but it can also be evil depending on the purpose for which that particular knowledge or that particular acquired knowledge or skill is being used. Knowledge of the principle of physics is of enormous value in human life, while if that knowledge is used in making hydrogen or atomic bombs, then that kind of knowledge can lead to the end of human life from the globe. So, knowledge can be both good or bad depending on the purpose for which that particular knowledge is being used. Now, there are different types of hedonism. Let us look at each one of them one by one. Let us first look at folk hedonism. Modern literature tends to take hedonist as a person who seeks out pleasure for oneself without any particular regard for the well-being of themselves or others. This everyday understanding of hedonism is called folk hedonism, which means that a person seeks to acquire pleasure or get pleasure without being concerned about whether that pleasure is going to be good or whether that pleasure is going to contribute to the well-being of his own self or her own self, or whether that well-being is going to be good for the people in general. Such kind of considerations are not there in case of folk hedonism. So, this kind of hedonism generally leads to a life filled with excess greed, instant gratifications, harmful unhealthy habits in pursuit of short-sighted sensual pleasures. Now, let us look at the second type of hedonism, that is value hedonism. Value hedonism considers that pleasure is intrinsically valuable and pain is intrinsically unvaluable. Something is intrinsically valuable if it is valuable for its own sake. Pleasure is thought to be intrinsically valuable because even if it did not lead to any other benefit, it will at least give some good experience to the person who experiences pleasure. Money is an example of instrumental good. Its value for us comes from what we can do with it. The fact that a huge amount of money has no value if no one ever sells anything reveals that money lacks intrinsic value. For example, if you go to a market with a bag full of money, but there is nothing to be sold, there is nothing that is being sold in that market, what use is that bag full of money to you? Absolutely nothing. So, money is an instrumental good which helps in furthering happiness, whereas money by itself has no use. The third type of hedonism is motivational hedonism. Motivational hedonism holds that the desire to seek pleasure and avoid pain guides all human behaviors. Strong accounts of motivational hedonism is not supported by many philosophers because several evidences weigh down strong accounts of motivational hedonism. Many examples of seemingly painstaking acts performed out of a sense of duty are well known to each one of us, which means that not every act is necessarily done with the motivation of acquiring pleasure or with a selfish motive. For example, a soldier who jumps on a grenade to save his comrades, or for example, if you are trying to rescue a dog trapped somewhere with all probability of being bitten in the process. These kinds of acts suggest that not always an act is performed with a desire to seek pleasure or to avoid pain. Now, the fourth kind of hedonism is normative hedonism. The theory that happiness or pleasure should be pursued and pain should be avoided is called normative hedonism. Here, happiness is considered as the sole criterion of judging the rightness or wrongness of an action. Here, which means that whether an action is right or wrong is simply considered on the basis of whether that act is going to create happiness or generate pleasure. There are two major types of normative hedonism. One is hedonistic egoism and the second one is hedonistic utilitarianism. Both types commonly use happiness as defined in pleasure minus the pain as the sole criterion for determining the rightness or wrongness of an action. Now let us look at what is hedonistic egoism. Hedonistic egoism is the theory that we ought, morally speaking, to do whatever makes us happiest. That is, whatever provides us with the most amount of pleasure, we should seek to do that kind of activity. As per this theory, one needs to ascribe value to the consequences of one's action only for oneself and no one else, which means that a hedonistic egoist would always think of of an action in terms of what consequences that action is going to have on him or her. A hedonistic egoist will never consider about the consequences of his or her actions on other people or the general mass. Hedonistic egoism is very unpopular among philosophers for the reason that the reduced capacity for sympathy and guilt among hedonistic egoists would allow them to take advantage of any opportunities to perform pleasurable but normally guilt including actions such as maybe even stealing from the poor people. Now let us look at the next kind of hedonism or the type of hedonism, that is hedonistic utilitarianism. The theory that right action is one that produces greatest net happiness for all is called hedonistic utilitarianism. As against hedonistic egoism, where the person is concerned only about his or her happiness, in hedonistic utilitarianism, the action must generate happiness for all. Hedonistic utilitarians therefore tend to advocate not stealing from needy orphans because to do so would usually leave the orphan far less happy from the thief only being slightly happier. It assigns no intrinsic moral value to justice, friendship, truth, or any other such goods that are thought by someone to be irreducibly valuable. However, it does consider an action to be good or bad in terms of the of generating happiness for all or on the basis of generating happiness for the entire mass. Now there are different varieties of hedonism. Let us first look at the main disagreements among the hedonists themselves. For example, the quantitative hedonists argue that how valuable pleasure is for well-being depends on only the amount of pleasure, and so they are only considered with the dimensions of pleasure in terms of its duration and intensity. So they measure pleasure in terms of quantitative terms for how long and how intense. The qualitative hedonists argue that one or more dimensions of quality can have an impact on how pleasure affects well-being. The quality dimension might be based on how the bodily pleasure is, the moral status of the source of pleasure, or some other non-amount related dimension. So here the pleasure is not considered on the basis of its duration or intensity, but it considers the quality or the character of that pleasure in terms of maybe the moral status of that pleasure or from where that pleasure is being acquired. So this is one of the difference that the hedonists have, qualitative hedonists and quantitative hedonists. Hedonists also disagree on how the value of pleasure compares with the value of pain. The general belief is that the value of a certain unit of pain is equal and opposite to the value of the same unit of pleasure. However, some hedonists argue that reduction of pain should be seen as more important than increasing pleasure. Another area of disagreement between some of the hedonists is whether pleasure is entirely internal to a person or if it includes external elements. Internalism about pleasure is the concept that whatever pleasure is, it is always and only inside a person. Whereas the externalism about pleasure, on the other hand, is the concept that pleasure is more than the state of an individual or the internal state of an individual. It is also dependent on the externalities, maybe the environment in which the individual is. So, this is another place where the hedonists disagree between the internalism of pleasure and the externalism of pleasure. Now, another variety of hedonism or another concept is seeing pleasure as sensation. The most common definition of pleasure is that it is a sensation which we identify through our senses, like the common sense of sight, hearing, smell, taste, touch, and also some other senses like movement, balance, touch, including heat, cold, pressure, pain, etc. For example, the pleasure of eating, drinking, listening to music, these are all sensations. However, there are some abstract pleasures like feeling of accomplishment of a job well done. Such pleasures do not seem to be experienced by any of the senses. For example, the feeling of accomplishment cannot be smelled, you cannot taste it, you cannot hear it. So, these are some of the abstract pleasures which are outside the realm of the normal sensory organs. In order to resolve the issue of categorizing such pleasures, some hedonists define sensation as something we feel regardless of whether it has been mediated by any one of our sense organs. Another variety of hedonism is pleasure as intrinsically valuable experience. Hedonists define pleasure as intrinsically valuable experience. Experiences that we find intrinsically valuable include instances of pleasure. According to this definition, the reason that listening to music or eating a fine meal are both intrinsically pleasurable is because these experiences include an element of pleasure, which means that these experiences have some intrinsic quality of being good. They are good intrinsically. Now, another variety of hedonism is pleasure as a pro attitude. Most of the modern hedonists define pleasure as a pro attitude, a positive psychological stance towards some object. Positive psychological stance includes approving of something, thinking of it as good, or being pleased about it. For example, the object of positive psychological stance could be a physical object, such as a painting one is observing. But it could also be a thought. For example, someone being happy about going for a vacation coming summer. Or even the sensation of being pleased about the smell of a new perfume that you have bought. So, these are all pro attitudes. So, today in this video, we learnt about hedonism, which is again a major concept and important concept in the theory of good. We today discussed about the meaning of hedonism, we discussed about the various types of hedonism, and we also discussed about various varieties of hedonism. Hope you enjoyed this lecture. Thank you.